The announcement that we've all wanted was finally made today, Wednesday, October 2nd from 8 to 10 p.m. All Elite Wrestling will debut on TNT. Hey Vince, what's your next move? And if it's anything that I'm hearing, his next move might kill the integrity of NXT. We'll talk about it right here on Off the Script.
Delete this man.
Alive with people still What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Wednesday night. It's July 24th, 2019. This is NXT right here on Off the Script. Big day in the world of professional wrestling. Big day for both WWE and AEW. AEW obviously being at the top of everybody's news feeds. We finally got the announcement that I honestly think they intentionally waited. They waited on it because they wanted to see if WWE was going to counter them in any way. We're going to talk about that. And WWE, they kind of countered AEW today with an announcement of their own, but they didn't really counter what AEW is going to be doing on TNT. Not yet anyway, but like I mentioned in the beginning, if it's anything that I'm hearing, what makes NXT special, what is NXT as a brand, and the integrity of what makes NXT what it is could be diminished. They're willing to put that at risk of being damaged for this war with AEW. And I can't sit here and tell you that I'm happy about that, and I am very nervous about what Vince McMahon has planned for his war with AEW. So we're going to go over that here today, right here on Off the Script. Thank you guys so very much for joining me, like I said. If you missed anything that I uploaded on the channel, please make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out. Live on the channel right now, man, you guys can simply go to all those videos by clicking the link in the top right corner. You're going to see that little eye. You're going to drop it down. Everything you need is right there for you. We got Monday Night Raw. We got SmackDown Live. We got an Off the Script Extra that we did yesterday. We premiered it on YouTube. We talked about Mark Henry calling out Becky Lynch. We talked about several different topics as far as WWE, including their investor call that is coming up and how Vince McMahon cannot use the same old excuses that he did in the last quarter's investor call. So we go over a lot of stuff on that Off the Script Extra. And then if you guys missed Off the Script on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you guys can certainly go check all that stuff out as well. Link is in that little eye. Drop it down, and everything you need is right there. I would greatly appreciate all of your supports. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. It's right underneath the video that you are watching right now, man. Hit that subscribe button. We are here every single week. We do not take any days off here, man. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and then the flagship Off the Script, the number one podcast in all of the YouTube wrestling community. Make sure you guys go and subscribe. We are here every week giving you the best in WWE and in the world of professional wrestling. And while you're at it, turn on that bell and make sure you guys are notified of not just one upload here and one upload there, all uploads on the channel. That is what the bell is for. I would greatly appreciate that as well. Follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button, like I said, JD from NY206 on both Twitter and Instagram and Patreon. If you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, what is up to my patrons out there who get the audio version of this podcast every single week, just like SmackDown and just like Monday Night Raw. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Podcast tonight's brought to you by my fine friends over at Audible. audibletrial.com Audible.com/off the script. Audible's been with me for 3 years, and I love Audible service, man. You guys can sign up today just for listening to the show and get 30 days free. 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 30 days free. And as a thank you for signing up, Audible is going to give you one free audiobook of your choice. All you have to do is the following. Download the app on your iPhone or Android device. It is absolutely free. You're going to use our unique link here for the podcast. audibletrial.com/off the script. You're going to enter in your billing information. You will not at all be billed for what you're signing up for. Not yet anyway, unless you guys want to stay on after the 30 days. Go through the sign-up process. Give them whatever information that they require. And then you're on your way to browsing Audible service and the app. 30 days free. And as a thank you, they're going to give you one free audiobook. Over 200,000 choices to choose from, a lot of which are sports and wrestling related. It doesn't have to be a wrestling book. It doesn't have to be anything in the sports genre. It could be anything that you want. I'm sure you guys can find something in 200,000 choices to choose from. Once again, that's audibletrial.com/off the script. And the best part of it is, folks, if you don't want to stay on with the service, if you just want to support the podcast by signing up, if you don't want to stay on after the 30 days and feel Audible's not for you, you can cancel any time in that 30 days and still keep your audiobook for free. Once again, that's audibletrial.com/off the script. So, unless you've been living under a rock, man, I don't need to read any official statements. I don't need to go over who's on the roster. I don't need to go over what TNT stated about AEW. You know the news. The news is AEW finally announced that they're coming to TNT on October 2nd, 2019 from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And they actually announced that their first live TV taping will be in Washington, D.C. at the famed Capital One Arena, and tickets for that will be on sale Monday, July 29 at 12 Eastern via AEW's social media platforms. Now, this is great news. Again, I can't wait to dive into something new and something that is not the monotonous, the bland, the boring, the stale, the formulaic, and any other word you guys can come up with. WWE, and what is the WWE product? That's not the biggest issue that we have with this all. AEW going to TNT, we knew it. We didn't know what day. It was Tuesday. It was Wednesday. It was back to Tuesday. It was back to Wednesday. They made the choice of Wednesday, and I'm surprised that it took them this long to announce that they were going to Wednesday. And I honestly think they announced today and waited so long that they were going to TNT was because I honestly think they were trying to get something out of WWE. They knew WWE was going to counter them in some way, and they actually did counter. I wouldn't say counter AEW, but they countered the news feeds as of today because AEW made their announcement. It was all over the place. And then WWE is like the younger brother here. Oh, hi, I'm the younger brother. Look at how cute I am, So they got middle child syndrome here. Or what seems to be something along those lines. The big brother here in AEW is all over the news feeds and all over the headlines. And WWE is like, nope, we can't have that. Maybe for a little bit, but we're going to steal some of those headlines and some of those news-making articles away from you. So they announced today that they are changing the WWE Network. The WWE Network is undergoing a new look and getting a new interface with a brand new design. Now, this has been in the works for about a year. WWE have been looking at launching a tiered plan for the WWE Network. It's not clear if the tiered plan will launch this week, but an email got sent out by WWE which indicates a big redesign is coming this week for the WWE Network. When the redesign takes effect, users will need to log in again with their username and passwords. There will be no need to change your password or set up a new account. The redesign update will occur at different times on different devices during this week. So WWE made this announcement, and they sent out a big 1 minute and 30-second trailer about the new look, giving you a glimpse into the new look of the WWE Network. That's not something that's countering AEW, but it's stealing headlines and it's stealing chatter away from AEW with their big announcement today, which WWE can try and try and try again and be the little engine that could, but everybody right now is talking about AEW. People are talking about how Vince McMahon is going to react to this. How Vince McMahon is going to react to AEW being on TNT on Wednesdays. It's not competing with Raw, which would be a death sentence, even though Raw is garbage, would be a death sentence for AEW. And I'm not saying that they can't compete with Monday Night Raw, but not yet. You need to establish yourself, and you need to be very well established to even dive into those waters. Take a dip into the kiddie pool first and see what happens. Build some consistency, some momentum, build a fan base, and when you are big enough, and when you go out there and get a CM Punk, and you're ready to do battle, then I'd like to see you on Monday night. But now is not the right time. How is Vince going to combat AEW? The only way he can combat AEW, and they thought that going to Wednesday was going to keep them in the safe zone. When you get a war started with Vince McMahon, no one's in the safe zone. I wish he was this motivated 2 or 3 years ago. We wouldn't be in the position that we are right now with WWE programming being the worst it's ever been. How are WWE going to combat this? Well, they're going to use NXT to fight the war with AEW. Now, it's been rumored for months that NXT was going to FS1. Every time Triple H was asked about NXT moving to Fox with the new deal, nobody really gave a clear answer. It was always, we'll visit it when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't want to take NXT off the WWE Network. It's a network exclusive. We're talking about different things and, what we're going to do as far as everything goes. It's a week-by-week, month-by-month basis. Anything can change. It's always the same political answer. It was a monotony of anything that I just said there. But realistically, NXT is going to be used as a way to combat AEW. WWE can say that they're not afraid of AEW all they want, that AEW is not competition. Everything that they've done up until this point has said otherwise. From contract tampering to just contracts being handed out in insane amounts, 5-year deals. The original deals that WWE were giving superstars were 3 years. They now bumped it up to 5. People on the roster that are completely worthless are making more money than ever before. AEW single-handedly has raised the pay scale for pro wrestlers all across the globe. Just getting into competition with signing talent. LAX, Santana, and Ortiz now are going to be free agents come August. WWE wants their services for NXT. AEW wants their services for their unbelievable tag team division. Everything about what is going on is competition. The fact that Seth Rollins came out and blatantly said that, Jon Moxley, we'll talk about this on Friday because Seth Rollins continues to bury himself further and further with these idiotic comments. Jon Moxley's taking dinner off of my table. I'm sorry, your liquid assets are worth $4 million. Did some investigative work. You're making more money hand over fist now than ever before. So how is he taking money off of your table? I don't understand that. It was an idiotic comment from Seth Rollins. Jon Moxley, and the fact that Jon Moxley went over to AEW, he said in this interview, we're going to knock him dead just like we do everybody else, end quote. That's exactly what he said word for word. Folks, those are fighting words to me. I don't know what they are to you, but those are fighting words. If you're not really keen on what's going on here, we're going to knock them dead is all I needed to see. It's competition. It's competition. Corey Graves has been on record saying that there is a rejuvenation in the locker room. The locker room is now invigorated to go out there and prove everybody wrong. Now you're invigorated or reinvigorated to go out there and now compete What's making you want to be better now all of a sudden? AEW. What's making you better now or wanting to go out there and be better and prove everybody wrong? The spirit of competition. WWE is going to use AEW to combat, or NXT rather, to combat AEW. This is known. Now, I don't know what their plans are. If they move NXT to FS1, are they going to go live? I, for one, would love to see NXT live. What are they going to do when AEW is on from 8 to 10? What are they going to do? The one thing I don't want is NXT to move to 2 hours. I think that would be a bad decision. I'm not going to dive into anything else but that. I'm not going to use any other words but that. It's a bad move. NXT right now is perfect at 1 hour. Now, with the knowledge and the manpower that they have running NXT, I think these people are a lot, like me, with logic and common sense, and they do things a lot better than say, the main roster on Raw and SmackDown. But moving it to 2 hours is blatantly saying, hey, you ain't beating us. That's all I need to know about competition. If they need to do anything with NXT, it's either two things. One, you put it on at 9 p.m. till 10, and you compete with that last hour of AEW. That's it. If you need to do anything else, if you're wanting to add more time to NXT on a weekly basis, live, I would go to an hour and a half, max. That is it. Clearly, when you enhance the time of the show, and you add more time to the show, we're going to see more superstars on a regular basis because you're going to need to fill TV time. Certain superstars that we don't see now are going to get more TV time, which is great. And a different mentality has to go into that booking-wise because now you have extra time. I don't want them to push the limits to 2 hours because I don't like seeing everybody every week. That's what makes NXT special. That's why I'm still invested in most of the roster right now compared to Raw and SmackDown. We see everybody every single week, and by the time these people debut on the main roster, we're so fucking sick of them that I don't want to see them anymore. I don't. Case in point, Ricochet. Ricochet was special in NXT. On the main roster, he just feels ordinary, and he feels like everybody else. I don't like that aspect of it. I want to see more talent, but not everybody belongs on TV. Not everybody belongs on TV. I don't want NXT to move to 2 hours whatsoever. 9 to 10, that's it. Or if you want, you can maybe fill that other hour with something, maybe a talk show of some sort. I don't know. I don't know what WWE's doing. The talk show probably is going to go on Tuesday to lead into Wednesday. 9 to 10 p.m. and that's it. You compete with that last hour of AEW. And if you need to do anything, you move that show to an hour and a half max. That's all I want out of that. Going live is great. I would love to see NXT go live. I don't like the tape shows, even though we watch them every week and they're great. There's a clear difference between taped and live. A, we're not going to get the spoilers. Everything's going to happen in real time. B, there's nothing compared to a live crowd. When you watch a live show, there's nothing better than a live crowd. When you watch a tape show, sometimes it doesn't come off as good as a live TV taping. So that's that. But what I'm hearing, on top of all this, is Vince McMahon wants to put NXT on FS1 to compete with AEW, but he is willing to risk the integrity of NXT in this war with AEW. And I don't like that whatsoever. Now, I was okay with NXT moving to FS1 if this was going to be, a war of sorts. I don't know what WWE has planned. I was okay with them moving FS1 and NXT and making them together. I liked it because it is pretty much the mentality now that NXT is not the underground, or it's not WWE's minor league. It's not their small league, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. WWE now has to treat NXT as a major league promotion, if you're putting it on FS1 in the deal with SmackDown moving to Fox, then you got to treat it like a legitimate third brand. Because right now it's not treated as a legitimate third brand. It's treated as WWE's, minor league. That's where all the rookies come from. That's where you go to train and become a WWE superstar. And I don't really label NXT like that, because there's no way you could look at a takeover and say, oh, it's WWE's minor league. Minor league shows ain't putting on that good of a fucking show, man. I was okay with that because it would make NXT stand out. It would give NXT a bigger audience. There would be more eyes on the product. And it would be a way for some of the talent in NXT to hopefully not make it to the main roster. Because we all know what happens when they make the main roster. They either get buried, they're ruined, we never see them again, and they're not treated like we expect them to be treated. Having NXT as a legitimate third brand on a major network will hopefully and possibly keep some of those big name guys down there, because they are going to need faces of the brand that people tune in to see every week. You can't constantly be pulling guys the way you are right now, men and women right now, and put them on the main roster. You can't have a revolving door of talent in NXT going to the main roster and then expect people to still care. They get familiar with somebody, they want to see someone on a weekly basis, you got to keep them there. That's going to be their home. Triple H was on record saying that he wants to make all the shows on the same level of importance. If someone is in NXT, that means that one of these days, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they can spend their entire career in NXT and be a household name on that brand. He said it when they opened the UK Performance Center. He wants all the brands to be legitimately on the same level. It's not, brand A, B, C, D. It doesn't go from Raw to SmackDown to NXT UK. He wants all of them to be equal, which I love that mentality. So, if that is the case, then you can't be pulling talent. But other than that, having NXT on a major network like FS1 is going to get more eyes on the product, and it's going to bring in a bigger audience for NXT, and people can legitimately see what else WWE's got going on as far as what they're building towards with the future and all these, unknown talents that you might not know of. I think it's a great idea. But outside of all that, Vince wants to muddy it all up. And this is what I'm not really on board with. If they go to FS1 to counter-program All Elite Wrestling, Meltzer mentioned this, and I would absolutely be, I don't want to say devastated, but I would be very disappointed in WWE if they treated NXT like this as a throwaway for AEW and the war with AEW. Meltzer said, as far as competition goes, WWE, if they move NXT to FS1, they're planning to use main roster guys on NXT to combat AEW. If this show goes to head with AEW, their plan is to use main roster guys on NXT to help boost the ratings. So in theory, he said, we could see a Braun Strowman on NXT. We could see a Seth Rollins on NXT. We could see a John Cena on NXT. We could see a Roman Reigns on NXT. Why would you do that? Why on earth would you even think about doing that? They're going to kill NXT if they are not careful. And this is a very damaging mentality. I don't understand why you want to... Now, after everything that I just mentioned about FS1, before the announcement of AEW, I was okay with it going to FS1. Now, I'm not okay with it going to FS1, and I want it to stay on the WWE Network. That's all it needs to do. Stay on the WWE Network. I wish they would just fucking sit down and realize that they're being hypocritical. If they're not competition, then leave NXT out of it. You don't need to put NXT against AEW on Wednesday night on FS1 to get into a battle with AEW. Right out of the gate, what happens if the ratings for NXT don't match AEW? Do you want people to start talking about NXT negatively after 6 years of nothing but praise for NXT? What if AEW beats them in the ratings? What if NXT cannot beat the ratings that AEW is bringing in? Then you're going to hear the chatter on social media, oh, NXT is garbage. NXT is worthless. Look at how bad NXT is. They can't beat the t-shirt company. You want that? Because I see it happening. I don't want that at all. Why would you put them in a position after everything to go in there and potentially lose to AEW on TNT? I don't understand that. I wouldn't want that for my guys. Now, on the same side of the fence, do I trust a Johnny Gargano and a Tommaso Ciampa and an Undisputed Era and a Matt Riddle? Yes, I do. I do. But we don't know what's going to happen in October. And then on top of that, the integrity that is NXT. You want to bring a Roman Reigns and a Braun Strowman and a Seth Rollins to NXT to battle AEW? I thought it wasn't competition. I thought Roman Reigns said AEW wasn't competition. The simple fact that you're even thinking about using main roster stars on NXT, those people, those men and women in NXT can't even get TV time now. Now you're going to use main roster guys to take more TV time away from them? You're going to take main roster guys to take TV time away from guys who are already on TV for the sake of a war with AEW that doesn't mean anything. I don't know why you can't leave it alone. I don't want NXT to be talked about as a failure. I don't want NXT's integrity to be thrown in the trash. NXT is WWE's vision of what pro wrestling should be. NXT has created, with Triple H at the head of it all, with his team assembled, NXT is what WWE television should be. And you're willing to put that on the line, everything that they work so hard for, to potentially fail against AEW? I don't understand that. I would never risk what I built in NXT in this worthless war with AEW. Now, I don't know why this has to be done. I don't know why you would take steps that are potentially this damaging. NXT Takeover 25 was the perfect example of NXT doing what they needed to do. Double or Nothing happened. The next week we got Takeover 25. From the opening two matches, that was all the answer that NXT needed to combat AEW. Because I've never seen two opening matches like that on WWE pay-per-view in a very long time. If you watch that, you know that those two matches were a direct answer to Double or Nothing. And it wasn't intentional. They didn't go out there and make mention of AEW. They didn't go out there and make mention of anything. They went out there and did what they always done. They put on the best fucking show of the entire year. I don't understand this. Now, again, this goes back to what I said in the beginning. We don't know what's going to happen with NXT moving to FS1 because you know it's coming. You know that's what they're going to do. And then from there, the floodgates are going to open. We don't know if it's going to be 2 hours. We don't know if WWE is moving NXT from 8 to 9 that it sits now, or they're going to go and put it from 8 to 10. We don't know. We don't know if it's going to be live. Nothing has been made official. I'm expecting this announcement to happen in the next month or two. Easy. After SummerSlam, possibly. I don't know why they would want to do that. And I honestly, and I hope that they think long and hard about this. Having main roster guys on NXT itself is it's just not right. It's not right. You don't need that type of shit. You don't. All you have to do is leave NXT alone and let them continue to do what they do. If you want to bring main roster guys to NXT, that's the wrong way to go about it. Why don't you take your main roster guys and answer AEW through your quality of shows on Monday and Tuesday night? How about that? Leave Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins on Monday night. Leave AJ Styles on Monday night. Leave Roman Reigns on Tuesday night. Leave the guys that you usually use on Monday and Tuesday night on Monday and Tuesday night. Here's a fucking simple answer for you. Take the fucking shows on Monday and Tuesday and let that be be your answer to AEW. You don't need to fuck up what WWE has in NXT, which has been the best thing that they have right now on a week-to-week basis. Fucking ridiculous with this shit. I'm all for them moving to FS1. Now I'm not. Because you're simply using NXT as frontline battle against AEW. And you don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to sink or are they going to swim? Why would you do that with your strongest piece right now? You're the chessboard. NXT right now is your king and queen. Why? Man, if they ruin the integrity of NXT, man, I'm going to be one pissed off fucking fan. Believe me, NXT is the answer to people like me who want pro wrestling in the WWE. I said it for years and people neglect the fucking comments that I have here. NXT is the way the main roster needs to be. You take NXT and what their vision is and put it on Monday night, I guarantee you, you'll see ratings. I guarantee you people will fucking praise that show up and down and people will know and they will come back and watch. How you could use NXT as a fucking pawn in a battle with AEW when we don't even know what they're going to do on Wednesday night. Let them do what they have to do. If Vince is so concerned, watch the fucking show on Wednesday and then go into Titan Tower on Thursday, come up with a strategy, and make your show on Monday the answer to AEW. Follow that, bitch. Where's the Vince that we knew and loved from the Attitude Era? Where's that fucking competitive spirit? Now, you're not about making your shows better on Monday and Tuesday night. Now you want to kill the one fucking thing in your company that everybody fucking loves. Unreal. And it begins. Fox wants Shayna Baszler on SmackDown Live. How are you going to pull talent from NXT and then want them to compete with AEW? Keep it on the network now. Keep it on the fucking network. Brad Shepard's reporting that a source in the company told him that Fox wants NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler. It's not clear whether they want her on SmackDown Live full time, but clearly it's not going to be for, hey, we want Shayna in this one little role. No, they want her on the brand completely. Baszler's done nothing but impress in NXT, and plenty of fans have thought up dream matches for her to have. And I mentioned Becky versus Shayna Baszler. Take my fucking money. That's a damn good match that I'd love to see happen on the main roster. Now, it looks like that Shayna might be a step closer as WWE is inching towards October with the Fox deal looming. Baszler's 38 years old. She's in NXT. You might not look at her and think, well, she's 38 years old. She's 38 years old. Same thing happened with Finn Balor. He was, 35, 36? And now he's on the main, 37, 38 years old? It's one of those things where you got to strike while the iron is hot. Now, Shayna isn't one of those women that's going to go out there and risk their bodies and kill themselves every week. She's very slow and methodical. She's very strategic. She's not taking big bumps. So the way that she goes about her style is actually very good for her longevity. And I think she's absolutely one of the best things, if not the best thing, in all of WWE right now as far as women's wrestling goes. So having Shayna on the main roster is great. She's got that MMA influence. Fox was affiliated with UFC. Clearly they see Shayna Baszler in WWE and they want that type of influence on the main roster. Plus, having her on the main roster brings a small, depending on how WWE fucks things up, a small level of legitimacy to the main roster. She's in great shape, has great work ethic. She's great in the ring. She sells her ass off. She's just awesome. Everything about her is awesome. She is a heel through and through with an old school mentality. So, Baszler, come this fall, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it 3 times, I've said it 4 times. And all 4 times, I've swung and missed. I am striking out every time I mention Shayna Baszler getting a call up to the main roster. I hope it doesn't happen, because I know WWE is waiting to just kill her just like everybody else. But I honestly think it's going to happen when we get closer to Fox, because that woman can't be champion for long. How much longer? How else are you going to book her in NXT? She's beaten everybody. She's beaten everybody. So what are you going to do? Eventually, it's going to come to a time where she has to drop that title. And when the time comes, no, you don't drop the title and relinquish the title and have a tournament for the title or a fatal four-way. No, we did that. That's old news. Shayna's already lost the championship and then won it back. So it's okay if she drops the title legitimately to pass the torch on to somebody else by having her on her back looking at the lights. That's all I say. And I already have someone in mind for that. Her name is Candice LeRae. So we'll see what happens with Shayna Baszler on NXT and if NXT is going to move her to SmackDown Live. I mentioned X-Pac. And I think X-Pac was a guest coach, and I think Road Dogg I mentioned. And now Scott Hall was down at the PC, and he's got a guest coaching gig. And usually when they have a guest coaching gig, it leads to a full-time gig. Scott Hall, I mentioned that him being down in the PC could be a very good, healthy lifestyle for him because he's got to be clean. He's got to be straight and narrow. Steve Austin was on Monday Night Raw, and he had that big party in the ring. He was toasting beer, and beer was flowing all over the place. It was reported that Scott Hall actually sat by the timekeeper's area and was not allowed in the ring with the alcohol that was being passed around by everybody, which is a great decision. Kudos to WWE on that. But Scott Hall now working in NXT as a guest coach. He is actually working with a standout superstar. He's already got his first pet project in NXT. Now, Dave Meltzer is reporting that Hall was at the NXT house show in Lakeland, Florida, and he was coaching Jordan, and I know I'm going to botch this guy's name, Jordan Omogbehin. Omogbehin. I don't know what his name is supposed to sound like or how to pronounce it. Now, Jordan, we'll just call him Jordan O. Jordan O is a 7'3" former basketball player. I'm getting flashbacks of the great Khali, and that's not good. Apparently he's a beast, and apparently Scott Hall is helping him and grooming him in NXT. It was none of that Hall was coaching other superstars as well, but he gave extra attention to Jordan O. Hall has seen a lot in this business and has a ton of wisdom to impart when it comes to all aspects of the business in and out of the ring. And this is just a little taste of what Scott Hall's going to bring to the table. Who knows what Jordan O is like? He's probably very rough around the edges. Scott Hall was very charismatic. He loved the camera. He was just out there and he created a character through his body language and through his voice, through his mannerisms, everything. Maybe that's what he's working with Jordan O on. I don't know. But either way, you can't have any better of a coach than Scott Hall, who's got knowledge and vast knowledge in this business. It's a great deal for him, and I hope that he's successful. Because that's got to be a damn good treat to know that you're just starting in NXT as a 7'3" former basketball player, and you got Scott Hall finding huge potential in you already. It's a pretty good deal if you ask me. Now, Tommaso Ciampa. We all know Tommaso Ciampa is a beast. We all know Tommaso Ciampa is coming back to NXT eventually. People were wondering, is he going to come back down to NXT or is he going to go to the main roster? Tommaso Ciampa provided a spoiler on his WWE return, and he spoke to Sports Illustrated. Ciampa provided a bit of a spoiler on which brand he is going to be returning to, even though Ciampa made his main roster debut just before his injury. He is not returning to either Raw or SmackDown Live. He says this, and I quote, "I don't know if people think I'm going to Raw or SmackDown, but here's a spoiler. I'm not. I'm going to NXT. If somebody tries to tell me anything else, I'm answering them with a no." End quote. This is good news to me. He's got unfinished business in NXT. Why would you put him on the main roster? Goldie needs to return home. And Ciampa can't do that if he's on Monday Night Raw dying 1,000 deaths. NXT, Ciampa go hand in hand, and Ciampa versus Adam Cole is something that I'd love to see, and I'd just love to see Ciampa back on my TV screen because he was the best thing outside Johnny in 2018 in all of the WWE. So he's going to tell them no. When it comes to Raw and SmackDown, NXT is where he's coming back to take Goldie and bring her back home. But let me know what you guys are thinking about this. You know, the negotiations with NXT and FS1, obviously it's being talked about. Obviously, it's been in the news for months. And there are negotiations with NXT and FS1. Now that NXT is being hung out there like a fucking carrot, with AEW going to TNT, the deal and negotiations, I'm sure, are picking up and the deal is imminent. I know it's happening. I know it's happening. There's no other counter for WWE right now on Wednesday night. And you know, they've countered everything else when it comes to AEW. They've countered everything else. They countered All Out with NXT UK. Smackville is being done to set them up to get them ready to counter program when necessary against AEW. And everything else that they did with the Evolve show against Fight for the Fallen. This is coming, folks. Wednesday was looked at as a safe spot for AEW. Now that they are making it personal with WWE, WWE is going to fire right back. And firing with NXT and risking the integrity and the true essence of what makes NXT, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it whatsoever. You got Tuesday night and that spot filled with a ESPN-like talk show for WWE. And then you got Fox Sports and you got this happening in October with SmackDown Live. I don't think it's worth the risk of doing this right now with NXT. Leave NXT the way it is and get back at AEW through making the shows on Monday and Tuesday night better. NXT is its own little entity. It's in its own little bubble. Please, don't risk the integrity of what makes NXT so special. We'll be right back with the results and the review of tonight's NXT show, man. The continuation of the NXT Breakout Tournament, plus so much more. I want to talk about my friends over at The Ridge. Ridge.com/scripts. Not only do they got their famous wallet, backpacks, knives, charging cables, phone cases, everything you need to make your everyday life easier. Everything that you need for your everyday life, they're going to make easier, man. And I'm going to make it easier on your wallet by entering the code SCRIPT at checkout. You guys can save 10% off everything on their site, The Ridge, ridge.com/script. I got to tell you guys this one story, man. I was in Atlantic City, and I was on the Atlantic City Boardwalk at the Beer Garden right outside Tropicana. Sat down, I wanted a nice cold beverage and a Bavarian pretzel with homemade beer cheese and homemade spicy mustard. Sounds pretty damn good, I know. I looked over to my left, and these two guys sat down next to me. I did not engage in conversation, but I looked over as they ordered their beer, and the man pulled out not a wallet, but he had his credit card and his ID together with a paperclip. A paperclip, folks. He didn't even have a wallet. Now, meanwhile, I'm sitting down having my ice-cold beverage and my Bavarian pretzel with beer cheese and spicy mustard, and I have all my IDs and credit cards in my Ridge wallet. Not only did I look at him like he was crazy, but I looked at him and wondered why he didn't have a Ridge wallet. That's unsafe, and it's pretty unattractive if you ask me. Now, the Ridge makes everyday goods to a standard you don't see every day. They help you streamline your life by turning things around that you carry, like backpacks, chargers, wallets, into tools for better living. Their flagship product, the Ridge Wallet, was launched on Kickstarter in 2013 and now sits in the front pockets of over 500,000 men and women, including myself. The Ridge is a minimal front pocket wallet that's designed to streamline what you carry every single day. And folks, it is so great. It's got over 30,000 5-star reviews, and it is a better way to carry your cash and your cards. There's a lifetime warranty if you love it, and free returns if you do not. And I'm guaranteeing you right now that you will. It comes in titanium. I have the Sunburst titanium. Carbon fiber, aluminum, and over a dozen different styles and colors. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping by going to ridge.com/script. Folks, that's ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT in the description, and make sure you guys tell me about your story when you get your very own Ridge wallet. Ridge.com/script. NXT tonight, man. July 24th, 2019. Really fun show that started with the NXT Breakout Tournament and Jordan Myles versus Angel Garza. Two guys I definitely want to see more of in NXT, and I'm sure we will definitely get more of them. I want to see Angel Garza more so than Jordan Myles. But this match was great for what it was, and I absolutely love Angel Garza, man. He reminds me so much of Eddie Guerrero. He's got that look. He's got that great heel persona, very cocky. He knows he's hot shit. He does nothing to hide it. And I love the aspect of him where he comes down wearing his signature long pants, and then when he gets an advantage, he just plays to the crowd, he plays to the ladies, and he pulls them off. It's just a very easy, very dick-like heel tactic that I can really appreciate. Jordan Myles, a lot of people appreciate and respect his athleticism and how great he really is. But I see a lot of people, from podcasters talking about NXT the previous week to people on social media, he smiles just a little bit too much. It's just a little bit too much for Jordan Myles. But this was a very good match. Jordan Myles wins via pinfall with a bridging German suplex that literally came out of nowhere. I did not think that was going to be the end of the match, and that was the end of the match. There was a moment in this thing where Angel Garza was on the outside and Jordan Myles was on the ring apron. And Jordan Myles is standing on the ring apron, and the ring apron is not really flush with the ring. So Angel Garza takes the ring apron and literally pulls it off of its hinges and off of the ring apron. And it's as if he pulled a rug out from underneath Jordan Myles. The way Jordan Myles hit the ring apron on the way down, it looked like he was completely dead. Out cold. It legitimately looked like if that shit went wrong, he was done. He was gone for the rest of the year. That's how devastating that spot was, man. Brutal spot in this match. Jordan Myles can throw one hell of a fucking dropkick. Same thing with Angel Garza. But after that, pulling of the apron spot, this was all Angel Garza until the very end. Garza then hit a stall backbreaker, hits a big thrust kick, goes for a pin, only gets a 2 count. Garza stomps on Myles' hand, kicks to the midsection, slams him into the bottom turnbuckle face first. Myles then starts coming back with rapid fire kicks. He was a man on fire. Kicks to the chest, running forearm, double chop, sweeps the legs out from underneath Garza. Low drop kick to the head, does a kip up because he can. Spinning discus clothesline, and then Myles was looking to finish it off with his signature 450, the best 450 ever. Garza rolls out of the way. Myles then switches to a springboard, comes down off the top rope, goes to a springboard, and then Angel Garza says, "You want to switch it up on me? Not tonight, man." Standing dropkick takes Myles out mid-air. Goes for a cover, only 2 count. Jordan then drops Garza again. Then a deadlift German suplex with a bridge, 1, 2, 3, and literally the ending came out of nowhere. And Jordan Myles advances to the finals of this NXT Breakout Tournament, which I can only assume is going to happen at TakeOver in Toronto, SummerSlam weekend. Now, the other match, we got Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes, and just by that match alone, I'm kind of going with Cameron Grimes because I think it's the better match with Jordan Myles. So I am predicting that Bronson Reed is not advancing to the finals to go against Jordan Myles. It's going to be Cameron Grimes and the former ACH, and that would be the finals at TakeOver in Toronto. Now that that's out of the way, something in the unpredictable realm, Shane Thorne, of all people. TM61, remember them? I don't. Shane Thorne comes down and he storms on commentary. We don't see anything. We hear the headset somehow going through a very difficult time. Shane Thorne takes the headset off of Mauro Ranallo, and he was literally this close to Mauro's face. And he's yelling into the microphone, like I was yelling earlier about NXT and Vince wanting to ruin the integrity of NXT. Thorne wonders, what's the point of bringing in 8 superstars for a breakout tournament when he's been here for 3 years doing work and doing the takeovers, while these 8 were nowhere in sight and he was here all this time. Thorne says he doesn't need a tournament to break out, and he's going to break out on his own. As if Mauro books the fucking matches. Idiot Shane Thorne. I don't know what they're going to do with Shane Thorne, but it looks like we're getting some sort of revamp and a new direction for the former member of TM61. I didn't like them then, and I am going to find it very difficult to get into just Shane Thorne on his own. Maybe he does the unthinkable, and I'm a big Shane Thorne enthusiast. I don't know. But as what we've seen in TM61, they were dull as dishwater. And now I'm expected to somehow take to Shane Thorne in a singles role. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens, but he wants to break out on his own, and I would have put 3 or 4 other guys ahead of Shane Thorne. I don't even think Shane Thorne was in their plans for any type of role on NXT, and here we are with him on our screen. So we'll see what happens moving on in the weeks to come with Shane Thorne. Backstage, Johnny Gargano is sitting where Ciampa used to sit all those weeks, cutting a promo on Johnny. Now Johnny's sitting in the same spot, cutting a promo on Adam Cole. He tells Adam Cole, when he gets the family involved, it becomes very personal. It's no longer about winning the title, it's about beating the hell out of Adam Cole. Johnny then picks a stipulation. Now you're wondering, what stipulation? Well, if you weren't paying attention to social media during the week, we have Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship in the main event of TakeOver Toronto. And folks, it's a 2 out of 3 falls match. But before you roll your eyes and give me a long-winded sigh of disappointment, it's a 2 out of 3 falls, but it's a 2 out of 3 falls underneath what is shaping up to be a 3 stages of hell type of concept. Adam Cole gets to choose one stipulation. Johnny Gargano gets to choose one stipulation. And when, it's not and, when it goes to a 3rd fall, because you know it is, when it goes to a 3rd fall, William Regal will step in and he will make a stipulation for the 3rd and deciding fall. I love that. How does NXT take a concept that Vince McMahon killed in one single month in 2019, you make it into your own? I wonder what the original stipulation would have been. I wonder if it really would have still been a 2 out of 3 falls match if WWE on Raw and SmackDown didn't kill the entire concept. I wonder if they would have went with something else. I think it's just the flavor of the month. Well, the flavor of the current period that we're in WWE. It's 2 out of 3 fall season. But at least NXT is making it sound epic and going back and making the stipulation must see. Because I don't want to see another 2 out of 3 falls match after this forever. I'm done with 2 out of 3 falls matches. So he picks a street fight. Gargano picks a street fight for the first fall. I believe it's the first fall or I don't know if it's the first fall. I don't know how they're going to decide who gets the first fall, but his fall is going to be a street fight at TakeOver. I love it. I actually thought he was going to go with a last man standing match because he said it was a stipulation that he is very, very, very familiar with. So, obviously, him and Ciampa battled in literally every scenario, and he's going with a street fight. They had a street fight, they had a last man standing, no TQ matches, unsanctioned matches, career-ending matches. So, it's a street fight, and I can't wait to see what they do in Toronto. And you know for a fact that both of those guys are going to tear the house down under street fight rules. It's going to be awesome. Bianca Belair versus Xia Li. This was pretty academic. Xia Li was building some momentum for herself until she met the EST of NXT, KOD, for the 1-2-3, here by Bianca Belair. I don't know where they're going with Bianca, but they need to stick to a direction and go with it. She's winning, and she needs to continue to win. And I'm thinking that Bianca is getting pushed because it's pretty imminent that we're going to see Shayna Baszler on the main roster. So I don't know what's going to happen. And again, I'm going with Candice to take the title off of Shayna. And I'm booking Candice versus Bianca for the NXT Women's Championship. It's just got a nice feel to it. Candice LeRae versus Bianca Belair for the NXT Women's Championship. And we'll talk about Io and Candice in a little bit. But Bianca Belair, her momentum was stalled. The stop and start pushes, they were building her to the NXT title. Then she ran into Shayna Baszler. Then she went on a losing streak. Now they're building her up again. It's you go all in with Bianca or you don't go in at all. None of this halfway shit. None of this stop and start shit. Go all the way. She's too good to just be beating Xia Li. She should be at the top of the card, and hopefully she gets there when we get towards the later part of 2019. Vignette for Killian Dane aired, and he talks about his attack on Matt Riddle last week, which was great. Dane says simply that Riddle isn't just anybody, he's somebody. He says this isn't MMA, and in Dane's world, there are no rules, and he can't wait to introduce Riddle to his world. I don't know if that's happening at TakeOver, but I don't know how you can have a TakeOver and not include Matt Riddle. If there was, and if there is, a way to get a sixth match on TakeOver, I would put that match on TakeOver. So we'll see what happens. I just can't envision right now with the way he's just been performing that you could keep Matt Riddle off of a TakeOver. It's just very odd to me. So we'll see what happens. But right now, from what I see, it's not a part of TakeOver Toronto. And I'm hoping that if they do want to add a sixth match, which I don't think anybody is going to be in disagreement with, add that match. I think it would be great for Riddle to be on the show, and I think it would be a hell of a return for Killian Dane in front of that crowd. So let's do it. They showed footage of a Performance Center camera with Jessamine Duke finishing up training. And she's sitting on the ring apron, and she goes to her locker, which is conveniently across the ring, or across from the ring. And she's in the locker with the locker door open, and it was like a scene out of Saved by the Bell. Mia Yim comes. It was like Zach Morris trying to hunt down AC Slater because AC Slater stole Kelly Kapowski. You know, Mia Yim comes out of nowhere, and she slams the locker in Jessamine Duke's face. And what I loved about this was that they were bleeping of certain curse words that WWE really isn't, using on television. We had Mia Yim slam the locker into Duke's face and yell, "Surprise, motherfucker." I love it. I can't sit here and not like that. I love that. Yim continues to beat her up, and she opens up the bottom locker. She slammed the top locker into Jessamine Duke's face. Then she drags Jessamine Duke and pushes her halfway into the bottom locker and then slams the locker on her arm. And you can physically hear and see Jessamine Duke crying out in pain and agony. It was awesome. It was awesome. Could have been a scene out of Bayside High, but it was awesome nonetheless to build Mia Yim for what is going to be an inevitable loss to Shayna Baszler. Because Mia Yim should not be the one to take the title off of Shayna Baszler. Now, I was thinking, with Io Shirai and her heel turn, there can't be two major heels on NXT's roster. Shayna Baszler is the queen. She's the queen of spades. She is the number one heel on that roster. You cannot be building Io Shirai to be the number one heel on that roster if you still have Shayna Baszler sitting on the throne as NXT champion. So, more than likely, we're going to see Shayna Baszler get called up to the main roster. And I reported already that SmackDown wants Shayna Baszler on SmackDown Live. Or Fox, I should say. SmackDown will be lucky to have her, but Fox wants Shayna Baszler on SmackDown Live. So what if this Bianca and Mia bullshit that we seen was part of the bigger picture? What if Mia Yim, and I hope that this doesn't happen. I really hope not, because I would rather it be Candice. What if Mia Yim beats Shayna Baszler in Toronto and becomes the women's champion? And it's Mia Yim and Bianca Belair in a rematch of sorts, and Mia Yim got the one up on Bianca Belair already, and now that she's the champion, she's the head of the division, And Bianca's been winning all these matches, and it eventually leads them right back to each other. And this time, instead of Mia getting one over on Bianca, it's Bianca getting one over on Mia and taking the title because she's the EST. Now, I could see them doing that. And there's a reason why that was all done. NXT does something. When you see it on NXT, there's a reason for it happening. And I'm just trying to piece the puzzle together here because Shayna is getting called up. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know where she's going. But it's happening before October. August is the perfect time to take that title off of Shayna Baszler. And I mentioned, no relinquishing, no giving it up, no disappearing with the title and showing up with the title on Raw or SmackDown. You drop the title to somebody. I wish it was somebody better than Mia Yim because I still can't get into Mia Yim. But what if that is the way that they're going? And this Candice and Io thing is just something to hold them over before Bianca gets the title and we start Bianca and Candice. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. NXT has a lot more women that they're not using right now. I'd like to see Deonna Purrazzo on NXT. She's too good to just be sitting around doing nothing. Rachel Ellering is back with NXT. They signed her, and they brought her back to using her full name. Casey Catanzaro, very good, and someone I'd like to see more of on NXT. They got a lot of women there, and obviously they got the resources they have in NXT UK. They could always use somebody from the NXT UK brand to come on over. I think that's the way that they're going, because it kind of sets up with what we've seen with Mia and Bianca. So let me know what you guys think about that. But Bianca is winning, and winning for a reason. Because I do think that she's waiting for Mia Yim to win the title so she can say, here we are again. Now I'm going to beat you and take your title. So let me know what you guys think about that. NXT North American Champion, the Velveteen Dream, with more than one sexual innuendo. And he came out dressed as Hollywood Hogan. Came out with the leather jacket that said Hollywood on it. Picture of himself on the back of the jacket looking like Hollywood Hogan. The crowd even chanted Hollywood at the Velveteen Dream. Comes to the ring with a microphone. Dream talks about Roderick Strong and says he's a hell of a man. But he's not the only man that could go all night. Sexual innuendo number one. Dream continues that Strong isn't big enough to ride this ride. Sexual innuendo number two. Dream says maybe there's someone else who is, and they should make their voice heard right now. So Roderick Strong comes out, says he's the most deserving challenger, which is true, for the North American Championship, and he could take Dream's title like that. Strong says it should be him versus Dream at TakeOver. Then all of a sudden, the crowd stands up. We hear theme music. Crowd went fucking crazy within a millisecond of this theme music playing. Out comes Peter Dunn. Pete Dunn from NXT UK has made it to NXT. So Dunn's music hits. Huge ovation for Pete Dunn. Crowd chanting bruiserweight. He heads to the ring. Stands in the ring. And he's looking at Roderick Strong. And clearly there's a connection there because they were feuding. Or his buddies were feuding with the Undisputed Era. So the connection is there. And I love the fact that that connection is there and Pete Dunn is here with that connection. So he's looking at Strong. Strong goes to punch him. And Dunn grabs his hand and snaps his fingers back. So Roderick Strong clearly selling the effects of the snapping of the fingers. He rolls out of the ring. Then he turns his attention to the Dream and he starts eyeing the title up and down. And the Dream says nothing. And that's it. He walks out of the ring. He looked a little bit on edge with Pete Dunn standing in the ring, but that was it. And Pete Dunn is now in NXT for at least the build, or the rest of the build, heading into TakeOver Toronto. Now, backstage, in the conclusion to all this and what we've seen in the ring, Strong is grabbing a cameraman. He's like, we're going to go into William Regal's office and we're going to demand we get the title match against Dream at TakeOver right now. He's not happy. So he sees William Regal standing outside his office. He's like, just the guy I was looking for. And William Regal says, well, look at that. You are the guy I was looking for as well. He's not happy that Dunn is trying to take his spot. Regal doesn't doesn't disagree, I should say, about Strong being the challenger. Roddy's going on and on and on. I'm the challenger. I deserve it. I pinned the champion. And William Regal is actually agreeing with everything that Roderick Strong is saying. Regal then says, well, I called my good buddy over in NXT UK, the general manager of NXT UK, Johnny Saint, and we came to a little talent agreement. And Pete Dunne's going to be spending some of his time here this summer in NXT. So Regal says it will be Dream, Strong, and Dunn for the North American Championship at TakeOver. Strong says, oh, now we're playing favorites. And William Regal didn't even deny it. He's like, yep. And Roddy says, that's fine. I want Dunn next week, one-on-one, so that he doesn't make NXT TakeOver Toronto. So now we got Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong next week in the main event. How lucky are we? And man, that NXT North American Championship match at TakeOver has money written all over it, folks. Roddy and Velveteen was going to be money. Now you're adding Pete Dunne into it. Folks, I don't have anything to say, but Triple H is not fucking around. I don't know what else to say. NXT TakeOver Toronto is happening in the first week of August. Right during SummerSlam weekend, or the second week, I would say, of August. You know for a fact that Triple H wants to steal the entire month right out of the gate. Not only against SummerSlam, which he is anyway, it's not even a fucking comparison, but you know for a fact that he is not fucking around with All Out happening at the end of the month. If NXT is going to be competition for AEW, you know Triple H is not fucking around, and Pete Dunne is here for a specific reason, because him added to that match is going to bolster that show and make it even better. And I have no problems with that. Normally, I would say, and I don't want to be hypocritical, and I'm going to mention this because I have to mention it. The only aspect of this I don't like is that I want Roddy and the Velveteen Dream in a one-on-one match for the title. He deserves it, and it should have been that. And I would have had no gripes about that. It would not have been any less great if it was just a one-on-one match. Adding Pete Dunne obviously makes it a good match and a better match, but Pete Dunne has done nothing to even get there, which I'm assuming they'll just play the story next week with Pete Dunne winning against Roddy, and that is going to kind of be his way into the North American Championship match. But as of right now, until we see next week, he's just being added to the match as if he was on Monday Night Raw competing for the United States Championship. Here I am. I deserve a title shot by doing absolutely nothing. So I have to mention it because I don't like when it happens on the main roster. I don't like when it happens here. But I guess we'll get that out of the way next week when he beats Roderick Strong, and then we have no complaints about him being added to the North American Championship match. So there you go. I'm all in favor of it, and like I said, Triple H is not messing around, folks. Triple H is not messing around. He's got All Out up here while booking this card. And you know for a fact that everybody on TakeOver Toronto is going to bring it more so than ever before. I love it. Io Shirai and Casey Catanzaro. This didn't even get started. Barely. I love Io with the black and white entrance, man. I love her theme music. I think it fits her great. The techno vibe that it gives off and the Japanese lettering on the screen. I don't know what it says. It probably says her name. If somebody knows for sure what that means, please sound off in the comments below. But I love the visual of the Chinese letter, or the Japanese lettering rather. And her coming out dressed as if she was fighting Pentagon on Lucha Underground as part of the Black Lotus Triad. I think she looks fucking great, man. She looks fantastic. And Casey was in this thing, and I was like, oh shit, here we got Casey. It's going to be a competitive match. We're going to see some of Casey here on NXT. And it started off as a complete squash match. Drop kick, knees to the corner, out comes Candice LeRae, and that was pretty much it. She goes right after Io with some punches. Insaguri lands a big suicide dive on the outside. Almost killed herself in the process. LeRae then grabs a steel chair, goes after Shirai. Shirai exits very quickly. And she starts mouthing off in Japanese on the ring apron, or on the ramp rather, and she walks up the ramp still yelling at Candice from a distance. I'm loving this, man. Io looks great in her new role. I love the vibe. I love the look. I love the entrance. I love the theme music. Everything's coming together nicely. She is coming into her own under this new persona, under this new look, under this new character of heel Io Shirai. But like I mentioned, there could only be one major heel on the NXT roster. You could have other heels. You got Bianca, who's a heel, I'm assuming. I don't know. She's not really acting babyface-like. But you can't have all these heels. One of them has to go. And Shayna is probably going to go. And that is imminent. So we'll see that happen at TakeOver. I'm making a guess right then and there. Io wins via disqualification because of Candice LeRae. And that was pretty much it. Keith Lee versus Damien Priest in the main event. I love me some Keith Lee, man. I really, really, really love me some Keith Lee. Damien Priest has a fantastic entrance, a fantastic look. You can see WWE's putting a lot behind him. But what happened to Keith Lee in the process? I don't know what it is with him, and I don't know what WWE officials see when they look at Keith Lee, but if I am thinking along the lines of an NXT official or a coach or someone in management, and Cassius Ohno is not there, it looks like Keith Lee is the reincarnation of Cassius Ohno. He is the new Cassius Ohno of NXT. And I don't like that comparison whatsoever. Because Keith Lee is worth so much more than that. And he's been on, and you know what? It's too early. It sounds like it's too early for me to say that. But it's not. He's been there for a year, over a year. And he hasn't moved any needle whatsoever. He's still in the same position that he was in when he first arrived. After a full year. And he could talk a big game, and he could say that I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to be infinite, bask in his glory. Now he's going to be infinite. Infinite Keith Lee. But you can't have him, as talented as he is, just be a glorified enhancement talent. I know every roster needs one of those guys, but I don't think it should be in the form of Keith Lee. He's too good. And he's very over with the fans. Why wasn't he in the NXT Breakout Tournament? NXT Breakout Tournament should have included Keith Lee. And Keith Lee should have won the NXT Breakout Tournament. These guys just got here. Just got here. And NXT was always built on, you got to climb through the ranks. What the fuck has Keith Lee been doing for the last year? Yes, he was out hurt, but it wasn't that long. And it seems like this downfall has started ever since he lost that match to Lars Sullivan last year. As soon as Lars Sullivan made his main roster debut, and they called him up, it was, I think, in the third or fourth quarter of 2018. Keith Lee lost to Lars Sullivan in what I thought was a very good match between two big guys. After that, his stock plummeted. Lars Sullivan made the main roster. They didn't do anything with him. Now he's out hurt and out for the rest of the year. And Keith Lee is still trying to find some sort of momentum in NXT. And he's done nothing. If he was in the NXT Breakout Tournament, that is your NXT Breakout guy. I don't know why he is now putting over everybody else that is 2 or 3 classes ahead of him. He should have been one of those guys that is being elevated, but he's putting over everybody else that just got to the PC a little more than 2 months ago. It's not right. So I'm sticking up for Keith Lee, man. I think he should really put in... I want NXT to put him in a position where he is not in the main event, but I could see him being a North American champion. I could see him going for that. Matches with Roddy, matches with Pete Dunne, matches with Velveteen. I don't know why they haven't used him in that capacity yet. And when is it going to be his time? I just hope that it doesn't get to a point where he is the next Cassius Ohno and he's putting over everybody on the roster. He's one of those good hands. Come on. It might not be Keith Lee, the quintessential WWE superstar. He might not look like the typical guy that Vince McMahon would pick out of a lineup of guys and make the next big thing. But he's much better than where he is right now. We had a great spot in this match where Damien Priest did a tope over the top rope. Lee caught him midair. He flipped over the top rope. Lee caught him in mid-air. Mid-tope. Flipped over. It was like a senton. Caught him mid-senton. And he was about to powerbomb him on the ring apron. And he gets out of it. He weasels himself out of it. Priest fights out. Ends up kicking Lee into the steps. And Lee gets up angry. And Mauro Ranallo says the restorative powers of Keith Lee are amazing. Meaning that he no-sold it. And he gets back to his feet. Priest then gets into the ring. Keith Lee follows. Priest, being a heel, he acted very heelish in this match. Uses the referee here to shield himself against Keith Lee. So with Keith Lee and the referee getting into it, he finds a way, does Damien Priest, to boot him in the face. Rolling cutter, 1, 2, 3, and that was it. And Keith Lee loses what I thought was a disappointing effort here with Damien Priest. I don't know. I'm liking me some Damien Priest, man, but Keith Lee and the way he's being portrayed, unless it's leading to a bigger picture for the Keith Lee that we see now, I don't know. We're not basking in his glory. We're just basking in him being a loser on NXT, and it needs to be the other way around. So that's what I got, man. NXT ended with Damien Priest winning via pinfall over Keith Lee, 1, 2, 3, with the rolling cutter. I don't know if it has a name. I think Mauro mentioned it with something, but I don't know if it has an official name or not. It's the Crossroads. Therefore, Damien Priest, 1, 2, 3 on Keith Lee. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much. If you enjoyed NXT tonight, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you let me know down below. Hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. When you hit the subscribe button, make sure you turn on the bell and make sure you guys have everything on the channel being sent right to your mobile device. Notifications, turn them on, and make sure that every video you get is delivered via the notifications on YouTube. Follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Like I said, patreon.com/JD from NY206. audibletrial.com/offthescript. You guys know the deal with the Ridge. Ridge.com/script. That is 10% off using code SCRIPT at checkout. And make sure you guys check out all the other videos that you might have missed this week with Raw, SmackDown, and last weekend's Off the Script, episode 283. I'm getting out of you guys. Thank you so very much for all your support. Again, hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We're here every single week with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT coverage, like I said, every week. And I will see you guys right back here unless there is breaking news tomorrow. I will be back on Friday with episode 284 of Off the Script. Until then, have a good night, and I'll see you Friday for episode 284 of OTS. I'll talk to you guys later.